Are giant beings coming?
Right now, everything is going to be dissolving that was once dense. The dissolving happens because we're immersing in light. There are light beings and there are legions of light beings coming in to support you in that exact process right now, today. They are in the room with you as you listen to this broadcast. These beings, these light beings, will not force their way into your world. They will only come in because you say yes, because you invite them. So a beautiful thing to say is,
Are you ready to shine? Shine bright. Woohoo! Archangel Michael, Archangel Raphael, Archangel Gabriel, Archangel Uriel, higher self, higher team, and all angels, guide, and light workers here for our highest good and the highest good of all. Please help me to help Kerry today. Please help us to shift consciousness today. Please help us to raise up humanity today for our highest good, the highest good of all, or something even better. Woohoo!
beautiful.
All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome back. I'm Michael Sandler, your host on Inspire Nation. If you've ever wondered if the veil is really thinning and what it truly means for you, then do we have the Kerry K show for you. Today, I'll be talking with Kerry K, world-renowned spiritual teacher and psychic, about what's really going on with the veil, if we're living in a false world and matrix, and are we being visited by other beings as the falling of the veil takes place. So welcome back to the show, Kerry. Are you ready to shine?
I am so ready, Michael. Thank you so much for having me back.
Well, thank you so much for being here. Before we dive right into things, is the veil really going away?
It is, and so,
I don't like that qualifier.
I know. You should have asked me another opening question. Because
and you didn't go with but, you went with and, because I know you were thinking about it.
Give me kudos for that. Yes, and it is going away, and we're all having different experiences of how it goes away. This is very important because you know what? People hear, oh, Kerry says the veil is dropped, the veil is gone, the veil is no more, but I still experience the veil, so she can't be speaking the truth. Every single person is going to have their experience of the veil because where the veil is projected from is here. We always think the veil is out there. It's the external world. It's something out of my vision, out of my control, forgetting that we're the originators and the literal projectors of that veil. So if your veil is intact, it's intact out there. If your inner veil inside is dissolving, it's dissolving out there. If your inner veil is gone inside, it's gone out there. That's why everyone's having a different experience of the veil.
Thank you. So then what is the veil and what is the false matrix?
Right. Let's start with what is the veil. In fact, what is the false matrix is going to be a part of the answer because the veil is what kept the false matrix intact. Think of the veil as a veil of separation between a realm called the false matrix and a realm called the divine matrix. So the divine matrix, which is then technically on the other side of the veil, we used to think of that as heaven. You know, when people used to talk about they had a near-death experience, for example, they would bring back a story from the other side of the veil. So we all thought, oh, that's the veil of the heavenly world. No, it's the veil of the real organic universe that we originated from. It's the divine matrix. So where we live had to be shielded. It had to be separated from that divine matrix. Do you know why? Because the power of the divine matrix is so enormous. The light is so bright, so intense that if we saw it, we would instantly be reabsorbed back into it. So the engineers of the false matrix went to great pains to separate us from that original world that we come from. So when we talk about being homesick, what we're really saying is, I want to go to the other side of the veil because I remember that, because I make sense there, because I am whole there. We hold the memory inside of us, but it's not in our brain, it's in our being. So we do experience a homesickness for the other side of the veil, but that's what it is. It's the sheet of separation between two realms.
All right, I'm going to have to back you up for a minute and go, hold on a minute. The original creators of the veil. Who, what, why, when? I've got questions here, Kerry.
All of those. Okay. I'm going to try my best to summarize this. I'm going to try my best to give you the bullet point form of who, what, when, where, why, and how.
Thank you. Yes, you what works.
There are beings known as the archons. The archons are a group of truly depraved beings. They had a role in the original creation template. So when I talk about the original creation template, I mean our original home. The original creation template is God's original creation, which was intended as an opportunity for God to individuate. That's what you are. That's what I am. We are the individual cells or the individual selves of God. And in our experience of individuation, we permanently feed back into the grid that we're from, or the home frequency that we're from. There were beings that were designed to hold forgetfulness, designed to hold separation, designed therefore to hold density, to hold darkness. These beings became corrupted by the role that they had taken on, that role of darkness. And because we live in a free will world, they were allowed to see how far they were going to run with this idea, this psychopathic idea of separation from source, because that's what they craved. They craved the opposite of unification with light. They craved the distortion of separation because it fed the illusion that they were holding, which is, screw this God character. Who is this God guy? We don't need God. We are the gods. The little g with a plural s. We are the gods. That's what the archons saw themselves as. But there was one major trick in the book that they had forgotten, and that was, if we continue our separation from God, what's going to happen is we're going to lose the power to create, because everything connected to God's source creator consciousness is by default creative. We create worlds. They lost their ability to create. So now what we have is a group of ingenious beings who no longer have the power to create. Because of their ingeniousness, they brought humanity into the equation, into the picture. And they said, okay, we can't create a world. We can engineer the structure of it. You can put the padding of it in, oh, human beings, come this way. And we were enticed, and we did. And this is a big bone of contention for a lot of spiritual people, because they cannot believe for the life of them that we would ever have agreed. And there is a twofold answer as to why we landed up populating the false matrix. The one is because we chose to be here for the experience of forgetfulness, because we knew we're infinite God beings. Literally, what is a couple of 100,000 years to an infinite being? It's a drop in the ocean. It's nothing. So if we were going to come and populate a false matrix for a couple of thousand or hundreds of thousands of years, hell, even a couple of million years, it would still mean nothing to an infinite being. So that's the aspect of us that volunteered for the excursion of forgetfulness. And then another reason that we landed up here is because many of us began to see from the outside of the false matrix, it's not looking so good in there. The original volunteers have forgotten so deep. They have forgotten so hard, so completely, that they can no longer find their way back to themselves. So we came in on a rescue mission. So there's two levels or two layers of people that find themselves populating the false matrix: the original volunteers and the rescue workers.
So, okay, so let's go back 2012, for instance. Let's go there. How have things been changing? What's up with the archons? I have this visual image of everything start to, like chunks of a building coming out, or of a wall, and of the whole thing starting to collapse. What's going on?
Everything. Literally, our eyes didn't see it, but Everything changed in 2012, and a couple of those changes, this is just a couple. The external broadcast signal of the false matrix was taken down in 2012. So what
What's
that
that mean?
means is, the false matrix is a frequency net, because remember I spoke about the veil. The veil is a frequency net that keeps the whole false matrix intact. That signal was broadcast from outside the planet. And what that meant was we didn't have much of a choice. We were being bombarded by a signal that we couldn't stand up against, because that signal was the veil of forgetfulness. The galactics, who are a group of beings 5D and beyond, they are called the galactics because they are of the galactic realm. And by the way, we are galactic too. So when I talk about the galactics, don't think of us and them and a hierarchy. This is ourselves in higher form. This is our family who've been here supporting us all along, but their support became very physicalized in 2012 as they removed the external broadcast signal. Now, a lot of people heard this news. External broadcast signal taken down, and they started to party too early because they forgot a fundamental rule of free will and of creation, and that is nobody can do something for you that you cannot do for yourself. So in other words, they took down the external broadcast signal of the false matrix, but we still had to take responsibility for the inner world. And the work was then ours to remove the remnants of the programming from within, so that we didn't unconsciously broadcast the false matrix as we were habitually designed to do. So in other words, we were unconsciously serving as repeaters for that broadcast signal. The broadcast signal, the external signal is now taken down, but you've still got human beings on the planet out of habit repeating that signal.
Would that be like, forgive me for watching the news? The news ain't all that's going on. There is so much goodness, but you end up taking in that story, embodying that story, feeling that story, and then just by your feeling state, broadcasting that story.
Totally. And you immerse in the outrage of that story and you say, my God, that president has done da, 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 and this country has done ba, ba, ba. And the outrage begins to bubble and boil and broil. And the next thing you know, you are an unwitting broadcast signal of the false matrix. Now it's not coming from outside, it's here on the planet at the ground level. But this is how it was supposed to be. The galactics knew that this was going to happen, and that was fair, because now we get to take personal responsibility for our reality, personal responsibility for how deep, how far, how fast we heal, how quickly we evolve. This becomes something that we can dismantle. We could never reach out there to dismantle that signal, but we can reach in here to dismantle the signal within by making different choices, by breathing in the light that surrounds us, by seeing the beauty and the divinity that is everywhere. In fact, it's right here in the cells of our bodies. So this is part of the shift that happened in 2012. There was a massive, it was kind of like the baton was handed to humanity, as in to say, okay, now you guys take down the remnants of the veil.
Forgive me, it doesn't sound like humanity feels like she's ready for it.
It doesn't matter. And this is this is the great part, is when something is ordained, it's decreed. So think of it like this. It's kind of like God's source creator consciousness sends out this broadcast signal that says, you know what? I'm calling that which is the false matrix, I'm calling it home. I'm dissolving the deal. It's done. When that kind of decree goes out, it's not a question, hey, humanity, do you feel up to it today? Do you feel up to transcending the false matrix? It's more like, we're doing this, whether we're ready or not, whether we feel capable or not, whether we feel prepared or not. This is what's taking place right now. And that's why so many people are as discombobulated as they are. They're kind of like unwilling participants in their own healing right now, for so many of them. Some people are craving, they're ready, they're waiting, and others are like that proverbial horse that's being dragged to the water. But the timeline is moving at a rate that is unprecedented, and humanity almost has no choice but to keep up with that escalating, elevating consciousness.
So I want to talk more about how we keep up, what that means. But first, I want to go to the galactic beings and giants coming in at this time.
There are the tiny, weeny, whiny little beings coming in, which we call the elemental kingdom, the Devic kingdom. These are like the fairies and the sprites, and you'll see them as tiny little orbs, tiny little orbs.
Are
And
those the
these
like blue flashes or white flashes that we see?
multiple colors, but definitely blue, definitely white, some yellow, some gold, some silver, some rainbow color. They're all over the place. Now, I know that when I say, okay, guys, there's two lots of beings coming in, the big, we'll talk about them in a moment, the big giant ones, but there's also the teeny tiny ones. People are going to say, Kerry, you're behind the times, baby. I've been seeing dragons and communing with fairies my whole life. And I'm not disputing that. That's absolutely true because they've always been here, but they've been on the other side of the veil. So for most human beings, these guys were totally inaccessible. It was like they were in another room or on the other side of a wall, but now that wall is dissolving, so they're in our room.
So are we seeing more orbs now than ever?
So we're seeing more orbs now. We're also, and this is important, we're going to feel it before we see it. We're going to feel the energy, and you're going to feel it here on your arms, covering your back. You're going to feel it brushing up against your cheeks, a feeling as if there's energetic presence in the room. And then immediately as you feel it, your mind's going to come in and say, that's silly. There's nothing here. Your eyes are going to invalidate the energetic experience that you've just had. So be wary, be warned, be wise that you don't allow that invalidation of this new frequency that we're dialing into, where we can reconnect with the elemental kingdom that is now coming in. And as much as there are the tiny, whiny, little weeny beings that are coming in, do not underestimate the power of these tiny whinies, because these are beings like sky sylphs. And SYLPH is how you spell sylph. I think it's my accent. When I say sylph, most people they go, sorry, what did you say? So a sky
What in the
sylph
world is a sylph?
yeah. Well, a lot of you guys listening will have actually seen them and not even known that you've seen a sylph. We've got those orbs, we've spoken about them, but a sylph, if you've ever lain under, let's just say, a tree, and you're outside and you look into the clouds, not necessarily at the sun, but you're just looking up at the sky. Sometimes your eyes go a little bit funny and you see what looks like squiggly little lines. And no, I'm not talking about floaters in your eye. That's a totally different thing. That's a protein buildup. What I'm talking about are these little sparkly lights. It's okay if you've never seen them, but there's a lot of people who have. And if you've seen these squiggly little lines, squiggly little lights in the sky, these are how our eyes currently perceive sky sylphs. But as we evolve into a higher frequency, we're going to stop seeing them as squiggly little lines and start seeing them as little energetic beings, because that's what they are. They are tiny, but they're potent and they're there to clean the sky. Now, a lot of people talk about, oh, all of that stuff. Should we just call it stuff, Michael, in the sky?
Thank you. That
There's
works.
a lot. I think everybody listening. Everybody listening knows what I'm talking about when I talk about the stuff in the sky. And then they go, oh my God, the world is doomed and I stand no chance and this is unjust and how could this happen? And they then don't realize that they're becoming unconscious broadcast signals of the false matrix. Because why? They're now victims and they're now powerless, and they're not seeing the divinity that is also there. Because if the other stuff is there in the sky, you better believe that there is a counterbalance. But we're beginning now, only just beginning to tune into that counterbalance. And these are the little folk that have come into our vision, not come into our world. Again, remember, they were always here, but they can have deeper impact in our world when we validate our connection to them at the physical level. And we say, this is an extension of the divine cosmos that I live in.
How do we validate them?
First, you're going to feel them. And there is the important validation. The second validation is, I need to grow up and realize that there's an illusion that I was taught as a little kid, and that was seeing is believing. We were all taught this illusion. If I cannot see it, it's not real. So for example, I can't see God, therefore God's not real, and I can't see love, so love is just a concept. Everything that was ethereal, we learned to dismiss, forgetting that what our eyes see is less than 1%, and I do mean way less than 1% of the visible light spectrum. So what we're really saying when we say seeing is believing, what we're saying is less than 1% of the visible light spectrum. If it lives in that bandwidth, then it's real. But the 99.9% of reality that I can't see, sorry, can't be real. So validation is correcting that ideology that we were falsely brought up in, and realizing if I feel it, feeling is believing, not seeing is believing, feeling is believing. That's the first layer of validation. The second layer of validation is connect with yourself as energy, because think of what we're trying to do here. We're trying to tune in to energetic creatures as physical beings. There's something there that's misaligning. We've got to tune into ourselves as energetic beings. That's where you meditate. That's where maybe you do breath work. Maybe you sit in presence. However, you tune into the invisible life that you are. And that invisible life that you are is multidimensional, eternal, and dynamic, and full of consciousness. Validate that experience of yourself and watch how that communication comes online. Watch then how your vision follows, because now you've energetically validated the reality. Now the visuals will only begin slowly at first, but don't bank on that as my ultimate proof is going to be when my eyes tune in. That's the last thing. Your eyes tuning in is the last thing that's going to happen.
Thank you. So I want to come back. So I want to go to sylphs, and then I've got to ask then, are giants coming? And what do these giants have to do with sylphs?
So the teeny tinies, the sylphs, the fairies, the pixies, the elemental kingdom, there's a heap of them, include the dragons, who are massive, absolutely massive beings. And the dragons once populated our world too. Sometimes we think of them as mythical things, sometimes we think of them as fantasy, and that's because there's a memory of them, and we've been taught to invalidate that memory. But these dragons were very, very physical beings. And when the veil was put in place, we lost touch with them. We had to relegate them to the realm of fairy tale. Now, as they come in, we're beginning to get a sense of bolstering. That's what the dragons bring. They bring us a sense of, I'm buoyed, I'm supported, I'm bolstered. And you know what? The dragons themselves are teeny tiny, weeny whiny, compared to the other beings that are coming in. So stay with me. We've got the true tinies, who are the elementals that we're familiar with, the sylphs, the fairies, the pixies, etc. Then we've got the big, massive dragons who dwarf the little guys. But then we have plasma consciousness that's coming in that dwarfs the dragons. I have to pause, because I need this not to be words, but just allow yourself, give yourself a moment. What? There is something that massive that's coming in right now. Why would it be coming in? Where is it coming from? I know these are questions that you're going to ask me, and I will get
Actually,
to it.
I'm stuck on the coolest term for this whole thing, which is, you said, put in the realm or something of fairy tales. And I'm like, wait a second, fairy tale. I'm like, this is too cool.
Exactly. Like, look how it's woven into our language, how we've been taught to invalidate the reality
Bingo.
that is as physical as we are. But because we're creative beings, we've been taught fairies are fairy tales and dragons belong there. And it's just a fantasy story. We literally grew up reading fantasy stories. So it's easy for us to go, well, that's just a puff of smoke. It's not real. When in fact, this is as real, as solid as we are. So the plasma consciousness that's coming in. When I first saw it, Michael, I thought, oh, that's pretty. There's a definite plasma being coming in. And what a plasma being looks like is, you've got a little one, so you're going to know exactly what this looks like. And anybody who's got little ones around, or you remember your childhood well, bubbles. Do you remember when we used to blow those soap bubbles as kids, right? You've got that little circle, plastic circle, and you through it, and there goes your soapy bubbles. Now think of how those soap bubbles catch the light. They shimmer and they glimmer and they reflect in the sun's light. A plasma being is similar, not exactly the same in that it's not perfectly round. It is long, shimmering, massive, waving, undulating energy. It is bigger than the earth, bigger than the sun, bigger than our entire solar system. This plasma being is pure plasma consciousness that comes direct from the supreme creator of all that is into our world as a signal, as a herald, and that communicates to the sun. This plasma being is giving a massive boost, burst, and activation to that source light that is coming through the sun's portal.
This has to do with the great flash we were talking about on the last show.
Exactly. So that plasma being is catalyzing the sun and essentially saying to the sun, get ready, baby, because it's time to bring through these pure source light codes. And the sun is just taking it in. The sun is amping up. It's a little bit quiet at the moment, but it's amping up. It's readying itself. Every planet in our solar system is being activated, including the one that we live on, and every being on the planet is being activated by the plasma light, because every single one of us is multidimensional. And as a multidimensional being, you have a light within you that is plasma. You have a light body within you that is comprised of plasma. And that plasma light body is being catalyzed by the celestial plasma consciousness that's coming in. And it's on the back of that celestial plasma being that all of these elementals are coming in. Remember, they were already here, but now there's this kind of like this, the troops have arrived. There's extra reinforcement coming in of the elementals, of the plasma realm, of the dragons. They're all arriving, you could say it like this, in plasma ships. And all of them are contained within this one big plasma bubble being. I have to call it a bubble because to me it looks so much like a soap bubble that's coming in. And this is part of our ascension. This is part of our signal.
So is this why we feel weird, out of sorts, out of our elements, dare I say, right now?
Yeah, absolutely. Because there's a part of us that's being activated and we don't understand it. And when something happens that we don't understand, guess what we feel? Out of control. Our interpretation of reality is, I'm out of control because stuff is happening to me that I can't compute, I can't comprehend, I can't understand. The deeper we can surrender into the fact that this massive transformation is taking place in real time inside ourselves right now, the easier this goes.
It begets, when we talk about cravings, I can look at the global crises. I'll put that in quotes right now. I can look at the leaders that we're choosing right now. We continuously crave, save us, save us, oh fearless leader, save us, oh galactic being, save us something, anything outside of me.
Yeah, absolutely. We've been programmed to do that. We've been programmed to give our power away. And this began, by the way, in Atlantis. That's how far back this programming goes. It went as far as our Atlantean history, where we were at the Atlantean time on the brink of an ascension. And we failed that ascension because we craved a savior. And saviors came in the form of the archons in disguise. Saviors came in and said, Atlanteans, we got your back. Without us, you would have been in trouble, but you can sit back and relax now because we have arrived. So we failed that ascension attempt so completely. The earth fell under a sheet of darkness at the fall of Atlantis that we are only now being given the opportunity to rise up from again, but we rise up on the premise that we are not so weak, so small, so insignificant, so futile that we need saving. We're the saviors.
Okay, let's go to that comment, because we can look at Jesus, for instance, the return of the Messiah who is going to save us. And what you're saying is the Messiah, forgive me, everybody, is ourselves. We are the Messiah.
we're the second coming. We are the second coming of Christ. Christ is not coming on a cloud and saying, right, humanity, we're going to have another Atlantean moment. Here I am, give your power over. Because what would we have learnt then other than we need rescuing and we can't do this on our own? The very reason we came here, remember, we volunteered to be here. We didn't volunteer here to be rescued. Imagine that. Imagine how ludicrous that would be. Yes, I'm going to come into a false matrix, spend hundreds of thousands of years there so that I can be rescued. That would be unthinkable and the ultimate waste of anybody's creative energy. We came here to realize and to self-realize, I am source incarnate. Christ consciousness is my nature, and I'm being activated, and I am activating it from the inside. That's where we are right now. Ready or not, that's where we are.
Thank you. So then I like to give everybody something pithy, something we can play with, something we can sink our teeth into. Is there an exercise or something we can do? Sort of like you're saying, feel the selves. Is there something we can do to begin to embody ourselves as the saviors? And God, that even sounds egoic, which is the opposite, but that's what we're made and told to believe, that if you feel you're all powerful, there's something wrong with you. In fact, we go to the shrink, they call it a God complex.
Yeah. We've been given so many names to keep us encapsulated in smallness, to keep us away from our power and devoid of the connection to our multidimensional totality. That's why the false matrix has dragged on as long as it has. That's why so many light workers and spiritual warriors right now are saying, I'm so tired, I can't carry on, because we've been dragging this thing through the mud and it's now at its end point. Remember, God, source, creator consciousness has said, let's bring this baby home, enough of this facade. We are so afraid of our power. That's the bottom line for humanity. We are so afraid of our power, and we've been programmed, quite wrongly, to see the abuse of power as power. We've been programmed to see dominance as power. So if somebody comes up to you right now and says, hey, it's time for you to be powerful, we don't even know. I mean, imagine that. We don't even know what power looks like, because we haven't seen it. Not today. It's so I did this call on power, and I specifically wore this pale pink shirt that I said to you, Michael, before the show. I said to Michael, I'm blending into my background. I'm all this like pastel beige behind me, pastel pink, but I'm blending in for a reason, and I am in the soft pink for a reason, because I was teaching about power and I wanted to bring the message through, and that is, your power is gentle, your power is soft.
Gentle is, it's something I've talked about, or wow, way back when I was teaching barefoot running, even 15 years ago. Gentle is the new strong. And a true leader is a benevolent leader that helps bring out the best in you. So he, she, it doesn't have to lead. You're leading from within, from your power. Thank you. So can you draw it an arc? I realize the world is always changing, and the timelines are insanely changing, but is there a general arc, if we're being in a sense called home, or if the experiment is being called home? What is the arc? Are the archons out of here? We got the galactic coming in, the sylphs coming in, the dragons coming back. Hello. You know what is happening with us? We're going, oh my God, I'm so confused. I hope I've kind of summed this all up. What's the arc look like from here?
You got to get the hell out of the mind, because that's the place that's going to trip you up. That's the place where the judgment comes from. That's the place that seeks control. That's the place that the ego resides. That's the place that the false matrix was anchored into. The false matrix was never anchored into your heart. It was never anchored into your belly. It was never anchored into your toes. It was anchored into your brain. And that's why we've lived in a world that's been dominated by, what do you think? What does this mean? Intellectual significance of everything, and the reducing of massive energetic shifts to a concept. We keep trying to translate multidimensionality into intellect, and that's the stumbling block. So if you look at that arc that you spoke about, right now, it's like we've got the baton, it's up to us. And our step now, humanity, is to rise, and how we rise. Get out of the brain. You asked me earlier, Michael, you said to me, is there an exercise? We were talking about Christ consciousness, and you said, is there an exercise? There is. And it is so stupid simple. Can I show you stupid simple?
Yeah, well, I grew up in Massachusetts in U.S. and stupid simple was they'd say take a long walk off a short pier.
In that accent.
Stupid simple. You're getting out of your mind.
Yeah, this is what I love about teaching in the way that I teach and being the me that I am now is it is so stupid simple because this is the language that returns us to our source, to our true nature. It's the opposite of the overcomplicating intellectual mind. So the stupid simple that I'm going to show you is this. Deep breath. Now bring in your imagination to the deep breath. Imagine a pebble from the top of your head, and just imagine that the pebble that's at the top of your head can soak down through the crown of your head, because your crown is kind of like a sponge, and it lets this pebble in, and the pebble sinks down, 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 until it reaches a nesting place inside your chest. And when it reaches a nesting place inside of your chest, it's going to feel like a plop. It's going to feel like you're grounding into your chest. We always think of grounding with our feet. That's beautiful. Right now, you're grounding into your chest. I'm not even using the word heart. Listen to this. It's just your chest. And there's an important reason why I'm saying this. Because we have an expectation of how our heart is meant to feel, which prevents us from connecting with what's actually there. That little pebble has just anchored you into the place where Christ consciousness emerges from. You've brought something down into the heart. Now let something rise up from the heart. And that is a golden light that is being activated right at the base of your spine. And it's traveling up your spinal column, in through your chest. And it's echoing up and out. Exactly where the pebble came from, that gold light is rising to. And that is so simply, perfectly, beautifully you. You are the golden light that is the activation of your Christ consciousness. That is the connection to your wisdom. That is the restoration of your original home state. Your original frequency was Christ consciousness. You are only returning to what you always were. The beautiful thing about what's taking place is that there's no concrete outcome. We are literally making this up blind. We are making this up as we go for a very important reason. The reason that we are operating from the now and not from a blueprint or a plan that says, okay, in 5 days' time, 5 months' time, 5 years' time, that plan does not exist. And anybody that tells you this is what's going to happen, please run away. That's not the truth, because there's one truth right now, and that is living in the now, which means we're living in a dynamic and totally unpredictable world. If it were predictable, what do you think would happen with our game plan? The archons, who are still on the scene, although in a very weakened form, they can still read the blueprints of our plans. We can't have those plans, not even at any level, because if we did, they would be thwarted, they would be manipulated, they would be circumvented. So we live in the now, but there are some things that we can look at and say, okay, there are a couple of knowns. As much as the timing here isn't known, we know that the sun's going to get active. we know that the solar system is being activated. And as the solar system gets activated, every single planet, not just this one, every single planet around us begins to come online to a higher frequency. The sun starts to activate. So what's going to happen is we're going to get more aurora borealis. We're going to get more of the magnetic field that's coming from the sun and directly interacting with the earth becoming visible. We're going to start seeing a weakening magnetic field, which means that the impact of the solar radiation around us and the cosmic field around us is going to be exacerbated. So think of it like this. The air around you is being activated to the point that it's almost electric. It is electrified with the cosmic field that's coming in from the external world right through that veil, and it is activating in the body. And here's what we're going to see. We're going to see people who weren't ready to shift. In other words, the people that have really frustrated us in our lives, and they have made choices that we've really questioned and rubbed our heads about and said, how can you be so stuck? How can you be so blind? You know, those people that have really angered us, we're going to see them either pop awakening or the exact opposite, Michael. We're going to see them double down. And we're going to see them retreat into density and darkness. And those people are going to have a really, really, really difficult time. So the light gets lighter, the dark gets darker. Everything gets exacerbated, almost as if it is being amplified, electrified even. So we're going to see people coming to heads. We're going to see this division amplifying. And you know what? Then people are going to say, but Kerry says that we're on the brink of ascension. Kerry says that the veil is down. How can everything be going so wrong? Because people are fighting on the streets. This is because the light is lighter, the dark is darker. We're going to see that exacerbation of duality. It's part of what's going to take place. And as all of that unfolds, it is each and every person's individual job to maintain that Christ alignment or that inner sanctuary. That's how we navigate through this until the great solar flash comes. And at the point of the great solar flash, which is a massive outburst from the sun, at that point, the old density, the old frequency that's been clawing and battling to stay alive, it gets dissolved, either transmuted back into light or given an opportunity to go into another matrix to play again and have another round.
Thank you. So as we begin to wrap things up here, is there something we get to do during this point? We're anchored in, we're feeling differently, we're coming back into our power, we're seeing the world as holy, fill in the blanks here. What do we do, or what do we get to know, or how do we live in this state, particularly as things are seeming more black and white, as you say, than ever?
Yeah. So remember what I said earlier, get the hell out of the head. That's like a daily practice. That's not something you do once and you go, oh, look at me. Look at me. I've transcended the mental realm. You're going to do it for 5 minutes and then you're going to have an hour of mental chatter, and you're going to do it for 3 minutes and you're going to have a day of mental chatter. And that's just the nature of practice. Practice means I've got this one thing that I have to do that's frustratingly simple, but it's taking everything from me. So in order to stay outside of that mental realm that is the false matrix, we have to learn to ground in. That's why I gave you that practice earlier. Anchor in to a different frequency. And it's in doing that that we begin to recognize ourselves as energy. The more we do that, the more we're doing the work. You know, people always talk about this. They say, you got to do the work, got to do the inner work. That's the inner work. The inner work is be in the multidimensional energetic realm where the true infinite self resides. Because we've lived in a world where only one iota, one fragment of who we were was showing up as the self. That was the mental realm. Now we get to expand into a new world. And here's the crazy thing. We've got people out there saying, I can't wait for new earth. I can't wait for ascension. I can't wait for the new realm. Your job is to be the new realm now by breaking down that inner barrier, which is the veil, and transcend it and anchor into the light and the energy field that you are.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Last question I have before I want to know where can people go to find out more. I'm doing a lot of teaching lately on healing, or what I call angelic healing, healing from the inside out. What does everything going on and stepping into our power have to do with healing today, or how can this help us to heal if we have challenges that on the physical plane clearly don't exist on the spiritual realm?
Right now, everything is going to be dissolving that was once dense. So let's think about what is density. Density is aches and pains at the physical level as well as at the emotional level. The dissolving happens because we're immersing in light. The more we spoke about validating realities, the more you validate the light fields that come in, the more you support the process of alchemy, which is the dissolving of density into light. There are light beings and there are legions of light beings coming in to support you in that exact process right now, today. They are in the room with you as you listen to this broadcast. They are in the field with you, waiting for you to offer them the invitation, because they will not, and this is an important distinction, these beings, these light beings, will not force their way into your world. They will only come in because you say yes, because you invite them. So a beautiful thing to say is, I invite in the beings of support that have come to aid me in accessing my multidimensionality. You don't have to say those exact words. It's the feeling behind the words that matters. Feel into your field. Feel the feeling of permission, of welcoming, of invitation to your highest truth. The beings that support your highest truth, you're saying yes, 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 yes to them. And that's it. That's done. You don't have to have a ritual. You don't have to stand on your head. You don't have to do yoga for 35 years. You just offer them your yes and they flood in. But that is an essential component of the healing that's taking place and of the dissolving of density that's taking place right now. You are doing this alone, but not lonely. You're doing this as one person. So you are alone, but you are not lonely. You are surrounded by legions of light who have waited for this opportunity to serve you, to heal with you, to support your homecoming and your remembering. So your job is let them in.
I'm almost wagging my tail like a puppy dog, because you're so plugged in. This is a continuation of the YouTube live event I did on angelic healing, and I'm being surrounded by these energetic beings just this past Monday night. Was 2-3 nights ago. You are just continuing that conversation. How does it get any better than this? All right, where Kerry, can people go to find out more, to find your beautiful work, to find you post a lot on YouTube as well? Where can they go to find all of it?
Lately, my posting has been a bit ridiculous. I've had a creative streak and I don't even know. Well, I do know where it's come from. As these beings come in, my creativity has gone through the roof. So you will find me on pretty much every social media, X and YouTube and TikTok and Facebook and Instagram. I am Kerry K. And I'm not just telling you my name, I'm telling you my handle. That's what it is. It's I am Kerry, Kerryk. So all social media, I am Kerry K. And my website is kerryk.com. I have a weekly online community, and that's the real juice. For people that want to go deep into the energy, not the words, the energy, Plasma Light Tribe, that's the real core essence teaching of the ascension times that we're in. So now you know.
And I like that you said, if you want to go deep.
Deep, baby, deep.
Any last words you want to share with people? Because this to me was a very hopeful, we anchored in. This wasn't airy fairy, dare I say. This was anchored and grounded today. And I love that. And at the same time, you do help give a blueprint for what's going on. I guess anything else you want to share, or are the archons getting the heck out of here?
They're having a really tough time. And I know there's not going to be a lot of sympathy for them, but they're having a really, really tough time because their choices are narrowing by the moment. They are frantically peddling to try to create backup plans that are failing literally by the minute. These guys are coming to a reckoning. And the reckoning is, I'm either going to be dissolved into light, which for them equals the ultimate death. Think about it. That's how dense, and isn't that interesting? That's how density feels about healing. Healing equals death for them.
I have done, it's never been my calling. We'll be careful, the word choices there. I have often done removing of wee beasties from people, shall we say.
Yeah.
Removing of hitchhikers.
Cosmic wildlife.
and the cosmic wildlife is scared of the light. The biggest challenge is to convince them you're gonna be okay. Not convince the person that I'm removing the wee beasties from. It's convincing the wee beasties. That's what you're talking about. You're gonna be all right.
Yeah, because they don't think
out
that
of
they
love.
are. They don't think that they are fighting for what they believe is their life. They do not understand that there is life after dark. They do not understand that there is life after the separation that they have prized for so long, for millions and millions of years. This has been their identity. We've been stuck in an identity, and we've only been alive for what, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years, depending how old you are. And we all know how we can get stuck. Imagine if you were stuck in that identity for millions of years, and now you're losing all your options, and your only choice is to do the very thing that you believe is going to be your undoing. Once they shift into light, they're going to go, oh, why didn't anyone tell me? Why didn't you guys say that this was my nature? That's their that's their journey right now, and they're very, very afraid of it. And when something that has power, or at least the illusion of power, when they're afraid, they can lash out. They can get nasty. They can do all sorts of things. So that's where they are right now. Lots of plotting, lots of scamming, lots of trying, but it's pure desperation. That's where they're in desperation tactics. And we need to see those desperation tactics for what they are and anchor into light. And please, guys, don't go into let's punish the archons, because everything is of God. They are extensions of the light that you are a part of. This is not about who we're here to punish and I'm going to show them. This is simply about, I'm here to be the light that I am, and the ripple of my light is going to have some pretty damn big consequences. Pretty damn big consequences, such as giving the archons no place left to hide, and I'm okay with that. But it's a byproduct of my light. I'm not doing this to get back at anyone. I'm doing this because it's my truth. You're doing this because it's your truth. We're lighting up because it's who we are. It is the truth of why we came to this life now. And yes, it leaves the archons with very little choice but to follow suit, and that's okay. They'll thank you on the other side, and you'll all recognize each other. That's the cool thing. We'll all recognize each other and say, oh, is that the role you were playing? Oh, is that the role you were playing? We're going to hug and be friends after this, and I know a lot of people don't want to hear that because they just want punishment. Sorry, guys. We're gonna hug and be friends. Just is.
Thank you so much, Kerry. This has been absolutely beautiful. A treat, a hug fest, a love fest, even if it doesn't appear that way on the surface. So for everyone out there, this is Michael Sandler saying, be well, have fun, recognize you are the savior. You are the light. You are vibrating at that highest level. And as you do this, that is what you're broadcasting to change your world. So of course, above and beyond all else, shine bright. Woohoo! How does it get any better than this, Kerry?
Oh, I don't know, but I'm really excited to find out.
Thank you so much. Wow. How does it get any better than this? How does it get any better than this? I had real fun with that. I loved how we anchored in. I love how we are learning to go deep. All of it. On that note, if you want to go really deep, and that means to vibrate at that highest level, come join us in the School of Mystics 4 Wednesdays each and every month. Group intention meditations, attunements to bring your energy up, clearings to remove off of you that which didn't serve you or doesn't serve you, tapping, teachings, so much more. Friends, family, it goes on and on. A life-changing school. 4 Wednesdays each month. Simply click that link for the School of Mystics down below. If you simply want to bring your energy up each and every day, I have a newsletter. Don't be scared off by that term. It's called the Daily Woohoo. You go to dailywoohoo.com and I help, it comes out of my automatic writing, bring your energy up each and every day. A good, powerful message, a short little story, a pick-me-up each and every day, dailywoohoo.com. And If you want to learn how to communicate with the other side, with angels, with guides, with light being, with sylphs, with the works, come on over to automaticwriting.com. A live class each and every month, video-based program in between, so you can literally start channeling loved ones, sylphs, angels, guides tomorrow morning. That's automaticwriting.com. Here is a link. I've got to work on where the mic is. Here's a link to the next amazing show. Love you so, so much. Keep on shining bright. Woohoo! How does it get any better than this? I love you. I love you. I love you. I love you. Bye.
Shine bright. Oh, shine.